What's up, dreamers and doers? Today's conversation is for every ambitious person who's ever felt this contradiction.
Building a business that is sustainable and profitable is not easy and not a common theme.
Many entrepreneurs, regardless of gender, struggle to separate business wealth from personal wealth.
It's not wrong to have a business that makes up a good percentage of your net worth, but there better be a strategy with it, because one of the things that we find all the time is that entrepreneurs think their business is worth a lot more than it truly is on the market.
The reality of that is really harder than it sounds.
The best advice is to really build your business around what that goal is for your personal payroll. Like, what do you want to bring home, and do your pricing of your product or service backing into that.
Research shows that financial clarity, not just revenue, is what creates true freedom for business owners.
If I could change one thing in the world, it would get entrepreneurs to not talk about their revenue. Revenue does nothing. It's profits that come into your household and into your freedom. Is this really even worth it? Sure, my business looks good on paper. I'm making good money, but I'm killing myself doing it. And that is what we hear so often.
What's up, dreamers and doers, and welcome to the Dope Living Podcast, where we explore what it means to build success that sustains you, not just look impressive on paper. Today's conversation is for every ambitious person who's ever felt this contradiction. Your business is growing, your salary is increasing, revenue is up, but somehow you still don't feel financially free. In fact, research shows that 86% of small business owners say that their business has helped them meet personal financial goals, yet many still struggle with the day-to-day reality of financial clarity. My guest is Tina Sue Moser, entrepreneur, growth advisor, and host of Women Choosing Growth podcast. Over 20 plus years experience, she's built and scaled multiple businesses, and now she helps ambitious entrepreneurs close the gap between business success and personal financial freedom through her Freedom and Financial Audit. So here's what makes today's conversation so powerful. Tina's going to show us how building wealth isn't just about working harder. It's about getting crystal clear about where your money is going and designing your business to serve your life, not to consume it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you
Tina.
so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to jump into this conversation. So you started your business over 20 plus years ago as a new mom wanting flexibility. Yes. I think we all can relate to that in some way. But I'm guessing the reality of entrepreneurship wasn't always flexible.
Yes,
Tell us about
my first
your journey.
business I started simply because I was pregnant. I was in corporate America before. I had a very clear vision of what kind of parent I wanted to be, based on my childhood and just, how it took me a long time to even get pregnant. So I was like, I'm going to do this right. So that's why I started a business. And for years, it was great. The business was growing at a manageable speed. I even had my son, 3 years later. But it was shortly after that, it was probably around then that I should have noticed that I was missing a lot of evening dinners just sooner than I wanted. Like, nobody ever wants this, but I was missing bedtimes and working Saturdays. And so I went to sell my business, but the buyers backed out the night before, and that was about the 7-year mark. I must have had the 7-year itch. So that was a turning point when I said, if I have to keep this business, I have to figure out how to build a growing and profitable business without eating up so much of my time, because family is the reason that I started it in the first place.
So you now do something called the Freedom and Financial Audit. What made you realize that entrepreneurs need this? I'm sure that's connected to your story, and that business success and personal freedom don't automatically.
They do not. And
together.
actually, after that that moment at the 7 year which would be many couple decades ago, which was a totally different business. It was a 24-hour home healthcare business was my first business, and so it was even harder to manage family and a growing company with just under 200 employees and manage time and freedom. So that moment when the buyers backed out literally 12 hours before we were supposed to sign the deal. And the next few years after that, trying to figure out systems, the right people, and how to be profitable without spending so much time. I did that, but I thought I was the only one. I thought it was because I didn't have any business experience. I truly, a lot of us go into business not really knowing what business and entrepreneurship is like. So I thought it was just me. And then I started helping others and realized that, building a business that is sustainable and profitable is not easy and not a common theme. So then I started coaching. And so I've been coaching for many years. And that is how I came to what I currently focus on primarily, which is time and financial freedom. That audit that you mentioned is the first step of getting really clear where your business is sucking both your time and your money, and it doesn't have to.
And I will say I did take the audit today. And a lot of the questions were like talking about how are you striking that balance, or how do you feel like you can step away from the business, or, step away for a certain amount of time and the business would still thrive, or, so I definitely want to dive into that and how, because the reality is most of us have businesses where we are almost the product in like we're the ones creating it. Being in the Bahamas, I know a lot of entrepreneurs, we make hand goods. Like we're making hair care products, we're making soaps, and the manufacturing is us, the distribution is us. We're doing everything. And so I think this will be a very interesting conversation for those that are building those types of businesses and really starting to reflect on, a lot of the questions that are in your audit. So I want to talk about the wealth building gap, which I'm going to start with a startling stat that says while women represent 42% of business owners and generate $1.9 trillion annually, many entrepreneurs, regardless of gender, struggle to separate business wealth from personal wealth. In fact, studies show that business owners often have most of their net worth tied into their businesses, and that leaves them super vulnerable. What should ambitious entrepreneurs know about building personal wealth while growing their business?
Yes, that is very true. And I've been asked, that's a great question. And I've been asked, like, should your business be your primary asset or, the bulk of your wealth? And it really boils down to a strategy, and it's different for everyone. So it's not wrong to have a business that makes up a good percentage of your net worth. But there better be a strategy with it, because one of the things that we find all the time is that entrepreneurs think their business is worth a lot more than it truly is on the market. So if you're making a plan, like a retirement plan, and you think your business is worth 10 million, but it's really worth $1, that's going to be a huge problem when the time comes to sell. And so the first thing that people need to do is really understand what their business is worth, especially if it's a significant part of their net worth, because then you can have a strategy and plan around it. So the other thing I would say to that answer is the number one thing that you should know about the personal finances versus your business profitability is it should be cohesive. You should have a plan that incorporates the business profits, how you're going to spend them now, and puts them away for the future retirement. So all three sort of money buckets should have a strategy, instead of what we find is business owners either put all the profits back in the business and never take any home, or aren't putting any in their retirement, or they're sucking the profits out of the company, living on that money, and then we can't reinvest and actually grow the business. And so if there isn't a strategy that combines all of them, which is what we do, that is where you sort of had like three different buckets of money that aren't talking to each other.
And that's huge. I mean, how many times have I heard small business owners don't pay themselves? And I, being fully transparent, that's probably the bucket that I identify with. And my husband and I have a sign company, and every month we're having the same conversation. We're still not paying ourselves. We're still, drowning in this and that. So I think like that, the reality of that is really harder than it sounds. And so, and one of the things I do want us to get out of this is really like those actionable steps that we can take to start to pull ourselves out of that. I don't know if it's a mindset issue or
sometimes it is.
I'm still trying to figure it out
For
myself.
some folks it is. Yeah.
So that leads me to the next question. What's one thing entrepreneurs should do this quarter to start separating business and personal wealth?
So if we're talking about smaller companies that are more like a lifestyle business, that's where we see where they actually combine expenses into, like, they throw their personal and business expenses into their, QuickBooks together. That would definitely be a no-no. We should always have business separate from our personal expenses. But for the majority of probably your listeners, I think the one thing, the best advice is to really build your business around what that goal is for your personal payroll. Like, what do you want to bring home, and do your pricing of your product or service backing into that. So you should pay yourself first. So my actionable step would be rewrite your 2026 financial forecast for your business, but make yourself the first expense, which shouldn't really be an expense. And then see, do I need to tweak my pricing? Do I need to have a better distributor or a vendor? What do I need to do in order to make that? Now, if you're a newer business and not as profitable, we're not going to pay ourselves $500,000 in year one. So make it realistic, but you definitely should have the mindset that your payroll, what your profitability or what you're taking home, should be the first thing on the paper. Then build the business around that.
And what, and then what should one do with that? Like, they're paying with themselves. What's kind of the best practice on what they should now do? Even if it's like, something really small.
Everyone is totally different. So every client that we've worked with, that's why the first phase is really understanding what they're building for time and financial allotments, basically, because someone may have more assets, other income coming in. They might be married and have, household expenses covered. So for everyone, it is completely different. So as someone listening, I would say they would want to determine, based on everything that they have, how much extra are they taking out of the business that they could start to put into either elevating their current life or the retirement plan.
Okay. So now let's talk about financial clarity as freedom. Research shows that financial clarity, not just revenue, is what creates true freedom for business owners. Yet so many entrepreneurs are reactive with money, constantly firefighting instead of strategically thinking or strategically planning, let's say. What should people do to gain financial
I love that
clarity?
you said that about revenue, because if I could change one thing in the world, it would get entrepreneurs to not talk about their revenue. Revenue does nothing. It's profits that come into your household and into your freedom. Revenue is a calculation of that. You need revenue in order to have profit. But I hear so many entrepreneurs say, oh, well, I hit 7 figures in revenue. But you could have 7 figures of revenue and $900,000 of profit, or you could have $1 million in revenue and $10,000 of profit. So revenue doesn't mean success. Revenue doesn't equal freedom. Profitability and the things that you can do with your profits is what really brings the magic, because either reinvesting part of that back into your business and getting to the next level, fueling your lifestyle, and from now and then into the future. So it's profitability that I want people to focus on.
Yeah, it's interesting because we do talk a lot
Totally.
about
I mean,
sales.
you need sales to have profit, but sales is not a measurement. And to be honest, I learned this early on in that first company that I had, and I'm in like tiny little town in Wisconsin, and someone who started in the industry at the same time as me was in LA, and their revenue was always higher. Like, and I thought, oh my gosh, we started at the same exact time. We're doing the same business. How is it that I am so far behind? Well, then I realized that it costs so much more to even hire staff in LA. And then when we actually compared our books, our profit and loss statement, I was so much more profitable, but my revenue was nowhere near. So even when you look at revenue of the same industry, they had to charge so much more. LA has a lot more money than Green Bay, Wisconsin, as far as, like the lifestyle and what she could charge. But then they were paying so much more in labor as well. So even comparing revenue of the same industry, like you can run the same business differently, different geographic areas with different costs, and you could be completely different in profitability.
Got it. So your Freedom and Finance Audit Acts, are you growing a successful business but still feel like your freedom or financial clarity is missing? What are the most common gaps?
It's usually so in the time freedom. It's usually time and financial freedom is what we focus on, and in the time freedom, it is your business is growing, you're feeling successful, you're starting to bring home and have some profitability, but you're working really, really hard for it. Just like myself back in the day, you're missing things with the family, you're working weekends, you're on your phone when you're supposed to be engaged with friends and family. And so that's what I hear a lot on the time gap, where is this really even worth it? Sure, my business looks good on paper, I'm making good money, but I'm killing myself doing it. And that is what we hear so often. And you don't have to. And that's what our whole program works on, is getting you that freedom while keeping your business growing and scaling. And then the other side of that is the financial freedom. So they may have the money, but misusing the profitability, like throwing it all back into their business, spending it on, I see this a lot where people are like, well, I've got the profitability. So they end up spending more on things that aren't bringing a true ROI to their business, and not including like, oh, I could have taken that home. I could have invested in something that actually made that $10,000 into 15 in a shorter period of time. So they're not looking at the ROI of money. And so they're working, their business is great, but then the money isn't showing in the places that they'd like it to.
Yeah, I understand that all too well. I mean, what our business is, just constantly moving, and there's so much to invest in from an equipment standpoint. And even when we think about our payroll, our staffing, and our full management, it's all of those things that we've got to now get in order. And it's been an interesting year because we've come to head with something that I can't say yet, but it's put everything in perspective. Yeah. Wow, we've got.
And I will have a disclaimer that I'm not saying it's easy and you just like, oh, well, now that I'm conscious of this, it's going to work for me. It takes time. It's like you've heard the analogies of a ship having to move its course. Depending on the size of your business and where you're at and how big the team is, it may take a little bit to, get a plan in place to understand when we're reinvesting and what we're doing with that, and get the people in place so that you can have more time freedom. But it's so worth it. And really the biggest piece of that is having a plan.
So let's talk about the systems that set you free then. You call yourself the SOP and policy queen.
Yeah. It's not my official title, but oh my gosh, am I?
Documenting everything. But for some, it could seem counterintuitive. Don't systems create more work? Some would ask. What should entrepreneurs understand about building freedom through structure?
This is hilarious. I'll tell a short story of so my mindset in my first entrepreneur journey was, it's kind of crazy to even say it out loud, but like, I'm needed, right? If my staff keeps coming to me, and I'm valuable, and and I'm building culture. That's not the case at all. So there was this one day I was out of the office, and for like a 2.5 hour meeting or something, I came back and the staff said the internet was down, and they were sitting there like doing nothing for hours. And they said, well, we knew we couldn't call you, but so our clients didn't know, the rest of our staff didn't know that are out, in the community working. And they just sat there like waiting for me to get back. And that was like, I still remember that day so clear in my head. That kind of stuff cannot sit in the owner's brain. All I did from there is wrote down the name of the internet provider in case that happened again. Like, it's so simple, right? Like, production ended for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Tina was out of the office and they didn't know what to do with the internet being down. So from that day forward, I was like, every time something comes up, I am writing a policy or a procedure so that I am not the one who's holding up any process or output. So that was the triggering point for me. As far as counterintuitive, I truly believe that if you're anything other than a solopreneur, there should be systems, SOPs, standard operating procedures for the key functions of the business, the client journey, everything from marketing to what happens when they become a client or a customer, to what are we doing with them after they've bought or are working with us. That should all be documented for multiple reasons. Number one, it makes your business more valuable. So if you're looking to ever sell, which I would think most folks are looking to sell their business at some point or get value from it, that makes your business automatically worth more. Having the owner not as involved in the business is the number one reason that companies get discounted when they do go to sell. So the more, like when I thought like, oh, I'm so needed and I'm contributing so much to my own business, I was actually hurting it at that time because everything was in my head and the business relied on me. So just from a value standpoint, every time that you're building those systems and processes and writing procedures down for the next person that you hire or for who you're going to delegate certain things to, you're making your company more valuable and you should be freeing up your time.
I really, really like that. And I love that perspective because I think that's one area that's not touched a lot at all is, writing policy and procedure sounds pretty, not the fun part, obviously, of the business, but it could be the thing that makes your business more valuable for sure.
Exactly. Think
scalable.
About you hire, say you have a plan to hire, 3 more people in the next year. That's if you don't have certain systems and processes in place, like you have to repeat it. And then you maybe make a bad hire because we all do. And then not only did you just hire someone and train someone, they left a year later, you had to do all that all over again versus having a really clear system where it's like, here, go read this, watch this video. Here's, and it's not like you're just handing them off, but so much of the day-to-day of almost every business can be automated into so many different ways. Videos, trainings, SOPs, I see a lot of videos these days. Like, just go watch this and you'll understand the why, and then you still get the personal touch to it, just like this podcast. It's like we're here in person.
I love that. So give us a 15-minute task entrepreneurs can do to start building freedom through
great
systems.
Question. I would say, especially if time freedom is one of the challenges for you, I'll make this as simple as possible. Just have a notepad next to your desk or wherever you work and jot down the things that you do in a week. Like, so high level, not every little email, but spend time on email. I do emails. I do this. I do QuickBooks. I do that. I take sales calls. Just write those down. And at the end of the week, I want you to have another column and say, do I need to be the one doing this? Or could I automate this somehow? you may ask me this, but one of my favorite tools is Zapier. Have you heard of it?
Okay. Yes.
So
I use
Zapier
is
so
projects.
amazing because like a lot of tasks that used to be done by a person, and this doesn't eliminate a person, it just lets you use your staff in so much more efficient ways. So if you have a new client coming on and you normally send them a welcome email and then you have to put them in the QuickBooks to be able to bill them and then you put them in an email series, all of that stuff can be done with like the very first, whatever that first thing is, if it's signing a proposal. So now you don't have to put on a calendar reminder that next week you have to do this for that client. So that's just one example of where, because you use it, that you can connect different systems, your CRM, your QuickBooks, your email. And so those are things that once you write down that list and go, could I possibly automate this? I do this task an awful lot. So delete, delegate, or automate is what you can do with that list.
Delegate or automate. Giving the audience just another little secret. One of the things, what I use Zapier for is for meetings, which has been incredible because you can take your note taker can take notes during the meeting and automatically create tasks for your entire team to do based on those meeting notes. And you don't have to write the meeting notes. You don't even have to put them in your task planner or your manager, right? Everything's transcribed and sent straight to a task platform where everyone knows exactly what to do. So I think, if you haven't used Zapier yet, give it a try. And then there's a ton of really cool tools like Notion and Airtable and
I use
of course Asana, all those tools for managing tasks. So here's your challenge out there for the audience. What's one area where your business or your career depends too much on you right now? And share that with us at Dope Living and let us know, or let's help each other build smarter. Let us know, and so we can build something smarter and not just bigger. So now we're going to talk about wealth builders versus income makers. Wealth builders versus income makers. All right. So here's something fascinating. A recent study found that entrepreneurship is actually a narrow pathway to wealth. Simply being a business owner with no employees doesn't correlate with significantly higher income or net worth. But here's the flip side. 44% of entrepreneurs say that they'll build wealth by growing their current business and 43% through side hustles. What's the difference between someone who's making income and someone who's actually building wealth?
Yes. So in my language, that is someone who has a lifestyle business, is someone who is their own business owner, but they're a solopreneur or the side hustles of the world. And they're making enough to live. That's their lifestyle business. Someone who is actually generating wealth with their business is typically a company with employees, because it's really hard to scale it's impossible to scale as a solopreneur. You have to have other people to do things in your business. So in order to scale and make larger profitability, that's where the profits can then work for you. So the difference between wealth building and just having income is that wealth building is where you're using those profits or those dollars to actually work to create more money, versus I spent it and I'm living on it and I'm really having a nice lavish life, but it's not making you more money. So wealth building is money's making you more money.
Got it. And so that's where, we talk a lot about opening investment accounts and letting your money work for you as well. So there's not just one way to skin a cat. Obviously, there are, these different avenues. But when you start to talk about wealth building from the concept of owning a business, that is really starting to bring more people into the business and scaling the business to more than it is.
Yes. And I'll give you an example of, for me, generational wealth and what I believe generational wealth is not the uber wealthy who are when they pass, they give their children a big chunk of money, which is what most people, if you ask, what do you think generational wealth is? That's what comes to mind. I think generational wealth, I mean, I could talk for hours on this definition alone, but as an example, someone even living with, just a little bit more than paycheck to paycheck can really help the next generation. Say you have young kids and you want your kids to go to college someday, but you're not having a whole lot of extra income into your household. But what if you just put $20 or $50, whatever that looks like, in an account when they're 5 years old, in a education account? By the time they get to college, you maybe put in $5,000, $10,000, but their account is now $20,000. That is not only teaching them the value of having money grow, but you just maximized the amount that you would have paid anyway. So now you only had to pay $10,000 in to have a $20,000 benefit for them to go to school. So that's where like making your money work for you is the difference of like, well, I'm just going to save. I don't have the money right now. And then when they're 18, you've got to go and come up with $10,000.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such an important lesson. And I'm hoping that, that we continue to have those conversations and just remind people that is building wealth, that is a version of building wealth and that generational wealth. Because a lot of us aren't trust fund
Very few people are, actually.
So. Right. So I like, now the connection to, bringing it down to earth anyway, about what generational wealth can mean to us or be for us. So what should we know about the relationship between time freedom and financial freedom? And can you really do both?
That's exactly what my answer is. You really do deserve both, and you can have both. If you have a business that is beyond yourself or want to build a business that is beyond yourself, you definitely can have time and financial freedom. That is who we work with all day long.
I love that. So let's talk about Women Choosing Growth. Your podcast, that's your podcast, Women Choosing Growth. And in a world where only 13% of women entrepreneurs plan to expand this year.
Yes.
Mind blowing. What does choosing growth really mean?
Women Choosing Growth was really about choosing personal growth and professional growth. So the podcast and the guests and the experts, amazing people I've met through the podcast, it's all actionable. So every episode, everything that I bring to the audience is making sure that there's something tangible that they can take away in their business or their personal life. So we know that entrepreneurship it flows over into our personal life. It's part of our personality. It's part of our identity, although it shouldn't be the biggest part of your identity. So really having the tools and the education to be able to grow personally and professionally.
Oh, that's awesome. Growth for growth's sake is ego. That's what I meant to say. Growth that serves your values and your vision, that's wisdom.
Totally agree.
Would you agree? Awesome. So let's go to practical tools and micro actions. So before we close, give us the most important numbers every entrepreneur should be tracking weekly. And just not just entrepreneurs, obviously. It's also for people that are, growing their wealth or growing their income in an effort to grow their wealth.
So would you like numbers in each of the kind of 3 buckets or in the business only?
Yes. For the entrepreneur, but also for the career person or the person that, they might have a side hustle, but they also have kind of that corporate stronghold, which we all, seem to need to go through in order to get where.
As I said before, it's not always easy, but it is very possible. I think the if you were going to have one sheet that combined them all, because like the business, there's certain things that you're looking at, and that we talked about, that revenue isn't necessarily that number. But if we combined what your business is generating as far as income, and then what you have for other side hustles, other income coming in your household, and then I feel like the third bucket is sort of that retirement bucket for when you're not having the income coming in, and the business is sold. A net worth statement would be that one thing. And I wouldn't include things like your house, because you're always going to need a house. And usually net worth statements have your house as a value on there. I would literally build a cash flow statement. What do we have coming in now? What are we projected to be in the next few years? Where is there extra that we can reinvest? Are we, set up in each of those areas, or most of our business, most of the cash sitting in the business, and where you don't have anything in retirement and we're 50 some years old? Like, that would probably be something to look at, depending on how much money you have, right? So I would do a cash flow statement and combine those buckets into one, and then make a strategy about where we're going to make our money work for us.
Nice. What's one mindset shift that changes everything about wealth building?
I think I sort of touched on it before, of that wealth building is not for it's not for the uber, I've heard people say, oh, well, I'm not in that category. I'm not in that household income class. And like I said before, $20 can go a long way, not just on the education, but if it's done with a strategy, like, you can so help the next generation, or even just help yourself by not getting that Starbucks, right? So you should ask yourself, what could this money do for me before I spend it? And I don't care what bucket of income you're in or what category of income. Like, do you really need to spend that? Or could you spend that same dollar amount and get a bigger return somewhere else? And that is one of the biggest challenges for people, is they're like, oh, well, I need it, so I'm going to go spend it. But you don't necessarily need it, right?
Right. One of the ways that I've been dealing with that is looking at my subscriptions lately. And I have a whole Excel spreadsheet now with all my subscriptions, and I'm like analyzing them and just making sure they all deliver the value that I expected from all of them. And that's, I think, a simple way, because you don't even realize how much they add up.
They do. I have, I saw my Peloton subscription before, and I only use it in the winter. So it's like, oh my gosh, I was literally paying for it for the whole summer. But, it is worth it to me, because in Wisconsin, I don't really go outside that much in the winter. So I need my bike.
Oh, right. I mean, and I think that's where your values comes in, what's important to you. And you have to have that self-reflection, which has come up in a lot of many episodes that we've done so far, is that self-reflection, you're understanding your why and your vision, and making sure you first do that in connection with you, right? Not what's happening around you or externally, but what's important to you. And then everything else becomes clear. And that's how I've done this subscription exercise. It's like, what are the ones that I'm doing for me? And then there's these other ones where it's like, well, that was for something else. And so let me.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. Is that is the first phase of everyone that we work with, is it's not a quick exercise of like, oh, well, what do you want your business to be? And what does time freedom look like? We literally spend several weeks on it to get really clear on why the number is the number, and how many hours you want to work. So it's interesting how people have this number, or how much time they want to work, or what freedom really is defined to them, until you peel it back and you go, well, I don't know. I just thought that that's what I'm supposed to think, sitting on the beach and sipping margaritas. It's like, but are you really going to do that? So we dive into what is truly your definition and what is important to you, like you were just saying, as before you can even build a plan around profitability and building wealth.
And I'm really looking forward to, because I've had some really cool conversations and, met, been to some cool events even here in terms of like your vision and your why. And I'm looking forward to finally getting a few minutes one day, and going through that. And then, I think the Freedom and Financial Audit it's such an important element. And it's something that we don't usually connect, right? We're like financial, what do we have to do? And, step back and say, well, is it just financial or, do we need freedom with that? So, to close, Tina, every episode, I try to end with an affirmation. And the affirmation is really for us and for the viewers to understand that at the end of the day, anything that we, consume, anything that we also speak, that, weighs heavily on, our ability to succeed and our mindset, building up our mindset to know that everything is possible. But it all starts with, speaking positivity and getting that positivity back through the words that we speak. So try to always end with an affirmation. So our affirmation for this episode, guys, this is it. I am worthy of both wealth and freedom. My business and career exist to serve my life and not consume it. Every dollar I earn intentionally builds my future. I trust that clarity creates freedom and systems create choice. I am building something that sustains me, fulfills me, and ultimately serves something greater than myself. And that's our affirmation. Yay. Tina, thank you for talking to us about the freedom and financial clarity that aren't accidents. They should be designed and well thought out. And for everyone listening, you deserve a business and career that builds wealth and gives you your life back. And that is what Dope Living is all about. Tina, if you could let us know how to find you, or, how we can also I've taken the Freedom and Financial Audit, but for others who are interested in learning about that framework.
Yes, it is on our website, businesswealthadvisory.com. And then our socials are the same, Business Wealth Advisory. And then you can connect with me and follow for more education on LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. So you hear that? Check out Tina's Freedom and Finance Audit. Share this episode. Follow us at Dope Living. And remember, financial freedom starts with clarity, not more hustle. And until next time, everyone, thank you for watching this episode of Dope Living. We appreciate you. Subscribe. And we'll see you on the next side of
Thank you so
this
much.
podcast.